Finally, Nigeria continues to count its losses as severe flooding ravaging many parts of the country refuse to abate. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has tasked state governors and other stakeholders to address flooding problems in the country. Meanwhile, the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, said about 600 persons have lost their lives and 1.3 million rendered homeless as a result of the devastating floods across 34 states in Nigeria. According to UNICEF, 2.5 million people in the country are in need of humanitarian assistance, 60% of which are children and at risk of waterborne diseases, drowning, and malnutrition. Jide, as so I was told some areas that this has turned into a kind of epidemic, that cholera has broken out.
It's to be accepted.
A lot
It's
of
to be expected.
like in Bayelsa State, that washed a particular cemetery that had to dead bodies.
Corpses were floating on the water.
Dead bodies floating across. You can imagine how terrible that situation is going to be. People are going through a lot today.
Yes, this thing is far greater than has been reported. Far greater. And it is the people who are going through it that can best paint the picture. Honestly, what we are seeing on our screens pale, in the face of the real pains that our people are facing.
Yeah.
12 local governments in Benue and more than 20,000 hectares of farmlands washed away. How do people cope with that?
Hectares
Yes,
of farmlands.
people are harvesting their crops before the due date. The same thing.
Next year is going to be
rice.
tough.
Is
Okay, look at it. Look at it.
You know, rice, for example, rice takes several months. So it's not something that you can say immediately this flooding, this floods recede, you can quickly cook, plant rice. No. Some of these crops need at least 9 months. So how do you deal with such a situation? People have lost virtually everything that they have. Houses, even the houses now, a lot of them will have to be demolished because having been compromised by flooding, they will give way in the final analysis. So in order for it not to even kill people, those
for
houses
days,
must be developed.
how can you have water on your foundation?
Yes.
Down for days.
It will weaken the integrity of the building. So this is what our people are going through. You can see that the international community is continually talking about the problem. Much more than, it's like in Nigeria, no matter how grave a situation is, we have thick skin. We just make it look like it's not a big problem. But the international community is coming in, even donating to us,
money.
showing concern.
Because this
is a
crisis.
serious problem. Look at that house. Look at almost the entire building covered. Some of these what we are seeing is up to 10 meters deep. Flood. Not river, being above 10 meters deep. You can imagine a lot of people will drown, people will die. So I'm not surprised that the UNICEF is saying more than 600 dead, because even the Nigerian authorities have confirmed this same figure. Yes, I think about 1.5 weeks ago.
Yes.
So it's a serious problem that we are facing. There will be hunger. It's just normal. It's not a doomsday prophecy.
Yeah.
There will be hunger because people have lost their farmlands.
And from the north to the south, it's not just one section of the country.
No.
If I tell you what is happening in Imo State, if you go to Jigawa, if you go to many states, so it's a case
Anambra,
of
Delta.
the biggest problem we have this year. Now, flood, and it's everywhere. Except
We started experiencing it in Ogun State, Lagos State. All these Ajuwon.
Yes.
The boundary areas.
Maybe they will release the
I think
water
they started
from
releasing the water.
some days ago, you will see Governor Uzodinma, sharing relief materials. There are like 18 communities sacked. Nowhere to sleep. They had to relocate to, I think, a primary school. They were giving them food once per day and all those things. When you look at Jigawa, several farmlands, rice farmlands,
about 200
wiped
people were
out totally.
killed in Jigawa.
So if you go,
200 people.
so, and believe me, sometimes I ask, what was the best solution? We share ecological funds, we do all this. Don't we really prepare for this?
It's like we don't have the capacity.
If we'll take a look at that of Imo State, they said the problem started 2012. Since that 2012, flood tragedy, those areas have never rested. It's always been a recurrent, crisis. I don't know how the state governors can handle
the
it.
minister
The
is
federal
even saying-
government, we have to join in this matter.
The minister is saying that that this thing has nothing to do with the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon, that the dam, the release of water from the dam accounts for just 2% of the flooding problem in our country. Now, what we now discover from the ministers, from the interview conducted with the minister, is that Nigerian authorities did not have any form of communication with Cameroon until they released the water. It was after the release of the water that we now started having communication with them. At least there should be, at that level,
Exactly.
based on protocol, you should be able to say, look, we want to begin to release our water. And all of the, the communities that have River Benue passing through them, they will be victims. Yet, there's no communication of any sort.
Exactly, that's what people in Imo State were saying. That the problem got worse when they released. And how can that happen?
So some state government, they started opening IDP camps
Of
for
course.
these people, because if your house is here,
Okay,
how
just
do you access your building?
Just
How
look
do you
at this
sleep?
one. Just look at this. Just look at this.
Discover top to bottom. The only
There's nothing you can do.
This
There's
is
nothing you can do.
from top to
You
bottom.
can only just retrieve some of your material.
There's nothing you can retrieve here.
This is a highway passing through the.
Okay,
through,
I have Etienne on the line from Uyo. Etienne, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am Etienne Yang, and I am calling from Uyo, Akwa Ibom State.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I so much appreciate your work on the studio. Mr. Babajide, I like the way you're putting things, because you don't want to put it so hard. But we cannot keep on deceiving ourselves. We have to call a spade a spade. The situation in Nigeria is bad, and I don't know how we are going to get out from it. It is the politicians, if they are not called to order, if the politicians are not called to order, I don't see Nigeria existing in maybe the next 50 years, because the people are hungry. The people are hungry. That's one. Two, for the Apostle Johnson Suleiman, that it is absolutely true that they are trying to hide the evidence. The only person that would have been a source to attack to the discovery has been killed. Who killed the person?
Thank you, Etienne. So finally, we must do something, and they predicted that next year it's going to be more than this.
Even this year, we have not seen the worst.
You are talking about next year. What of this year?
It's still
They're
on.
talking about
From the predictions, we haven't seen. We have not
We are
even
still
seen half
into
of
it.
what is coming. From the predictions.
and we're prepared.
So it's not just that we
What
will
is the
lose.
preparation
We
that
will
we
lose.
have?
We will lose houses. We will lose farmlands. We will lose lives, and
the resultant effect will
and
be
the
famine.
problem we have in Nigeria now, that the politicians that should roll up their sleeves
they
are
are
not
not
ready.
bothered.
They
They
are
are not
bothered
bothered.
about election, re-election, and
You
all
can't
those.
even see
See them
strategy.
fighting all those things. They are not bothered about anybody.
What is the strategy in place to mitigate this? It's not
So
simply
when I
by
saw
sharing money.
when I saw
You
Vice
have to do our
President
best to make sure this water recedes.
when I saw Vice President saying the governors, I said, which governor? Those who are busy fighting, looking for appointment, looking for next post, re-election
You're
and
already
all those things.
preparing for 2023.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Post 2023.
Wow.
It's a terrible
And
thing.
when these
My
things
own
happen, they will
concern-
not go there, send somebody there. When on all these big crises, you won't see governors there. They will send somebody there.
My concern is, if these rains don't stop, everyone knows that as a result of global warming, we have irregular rainfall pattern. Now, You can't predict. In some places now, the rain should have stopped, but it's still raining.
Ordinarily.
That's the effect of climate change that we were toying with. Now, if it continues like this, in Kogi, in Imo, in Anambra, in Delta, in Bayelsa, one of the worst estates, all the local governments in Bayelsa are in trouble. What do we do? What do we do if it continues?
Adekunle,